You are tuned in to a CS Podcast exclusive presented by NFLDraftBible.com. Welcome back to another episode of the CS Podcast presented by the NFL Draft Bible. Visit NFLDraftBible.com, bringing you the names that you need to know first since 2002. As always, I am your host, Chris Shanafel, and we are now joined by the wide receivers coach for the Jones County Junior College Bobcats. He's Francisco Llanos. And Francisco, we really appreciate you taking some time this evening. We're 4 games into the season. You guys hold a 3-1 record. How has the experience been so far being on the coaching side of things this college football season?
Man, the experience has been really good, man. We have a lot of experience on this staff, so I'm really just trying to soak everything in and just continue to learn as if I was a player. So, the experience has been well. 2 years ago I was playing, so it's kind of, I'm still trying to transition into that coaching mode because I still feel like I can play. But the experience has been good, man. I'm just trying to soak everything in and just be a sponge and just continue to learn the game, and so that these players can trust in what I'm telling them. So far so good. I can't complain.
I'm sure at times while you're watching your players in practice or now in the games, I'm sure at times you're wishing you could throw on a helmet and pads. How active are you in practice nowadays?
I'm pretty active, definitely in the off season before we started up. I used to go out there with the kids all the time and really get involved. I was out there running routes just so they can see it. I think nowadays kids like to visualize things and actually see it more, just on tape and stuff like that. So it was pretty good to get back out there and move around with the guys. So it felt good.
And taking a look at what you guys have been able to do so far this season, Francisco, the first game of the year, you guys played East Mississippi, one of the more well-known JUCO programs in the country, currently ranked number 9 in the nation, and they're very well-known for moving players onto the bigger Division I programs. Of course, they're also known for that Netflix series, Last Chance U, that a lot of people have been really high on lately. You guys opened up the season with a 27-25 win over East Mississippi. And then you guys would go on to win your next 2 games with a combined score of 89-9. Now, before we talk about last week's game, Francisco, could you have asked for a better start to the season than you guys had those first 3 games? And then, of course, starting 3-0, you guys were then ranked number 6 in the country.
Yeah, you can't really ask for a better start. Going into that first game, we knew what we were going up against, facing the number 1 team in the nation at that time, East Mississippi. Anybody who knows about JUCO football knows about East Mississippi and their tradition. So it was a big test, for us as a new staff and the players that we brought in, and the community was very, very excited, for that game. Obviously, like you said, the Netflix series that they have with The Last Chance U, and, being able to come out of that game with a win was definitely a momentum for us as a staff and as a team, and it definitely helped us out later down the road. We got 2 wins after that, so going into Colin, we were 3-0, ranked number 6. You couldn't ask for a better start.
Yeah, and now you guys are coming off of your first loss of the season against Copiah Lincoln, 27-22. The rankings did come out today, and you guys are now ranked number 14 in the nation. So you guys dropped from number 6 to number 14. I'm sure the coaching staff, I'm sure the players don't really pay too much attention to that, but still number 14 in the nation, not too shabby. Can you give us a quick recap of that game, though? What was it about this opponent that allowed them to get the best of you guys last week? Was it something that they were doing, or was it more so that you guys just beat yourselves this past week?
Well, we give all the credit to Colin. They're a really good football team. The week prior to we were playing them, they were ranked number 3 in the nation. So that kind of goes to show you what kind of caliber team they had. So, we didn't want to go into this game taking them lightly. But we just, towards the end of the game, we made more mistakes than they did, offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game, and it cost us late in the game. But, you live and you learn. I think the good thing about that loss is, you get a chance to go back and review the tape and just learn and grow from your mistakes, just to make sure that we don't do those mistakes again. And I think the kids understand that, and it'll be interesting to see how our kids react to this loss, heading into week 4. Or week 5, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and of course, Week 5 this Thursday, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But 4 games in, I mean, it looks like you guys have had a lot of success running the football, Francisco. I see running back Scott Phillips leads the way with 422 yards and 7 touchdowns. Tell us what you think about the play of your running backs this season, specifically Scott Phillips.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're very fortunate to have 3 really good backs, Rashad Green, Deshaun Smith, and Scotty Phillips, who you mentioned. I mean, we feel pretty good about any one of those 3 guys being in the game. And I think they feed off each other. You see Scotty Phillips is having a lot of success right now. I mean, he's been playing really, really well. And I think competition just brings the best out of those 3. You know, whoever's in there, I mean, they're doing their job and they're doing what they're supposed to do. And like I said, we feel good with any of those 3 guys being in there. And Scotty Phillips, he's just been making some plays for us, and he's going to continue to do that. He's a very soft-spoken guy. He understands football. He runs tough, and it shows, you know, in the games that he's been having the first 3 weeks.
Now, of course, we all know that wide receivers want to catch the football. They want to make big plays. But you know, you don't always make big plays by just catching the football. Wide receivers could make plays other ways as well. How much of an impact have your wide receivers had in the success of the running game? How have they done blocking for the running backs so far, 4 games in?
I've been pleased with how they've been blocking on the perimeter. And I think that's one of the biggest, attributes, that kind of high school kids have to, understand when they go to the college level. I mean, you're not just going to come out here and just run routes and catch footballs. You got to be able to block on the perimeter. And I've been pleased so far with how we're doing it. And it kind of goes to show, how well our running backs are doing because we're blocking so well on the perimeter. So, the first 4 games I've been very pleased, but we can improve and we will.
Is blocking for a wide receiver more of an effort thing than anything? I mean, how much skill is there to actually blocking compared to, how much is just effort? I mean, is
Right.
it safe to say that, blocking for a wide receiver is just want to?
Yeah, I think it has something to do with want to effort. Not so much, technique and skill, but more so just effort. Half the time you really just got to get in the guy's way and just want it. Just how you approach a route. If your name's being called for a route, you want to take that same approach. If we're running the football your way, and those are the kind of guys that we look for, and we have those guys on our team.
And it certainly looks that way, at least 4 games in with the 3-1 record. We're chatting with the Jones County Junior College Bobcats wide receivers coach, the 3-1 JC Bobcats wide receivers coach, Francisco Llanos, here on the CS Podcast presented by NFLDraftBible.com. I am your host, Chris Shanafel, and Francisco, you are the wide receivers coach, so let's take a look at what some of your guys have done so far 4 games into the season. Kendall Parham, he's the team's leading wide receiver, 10 receptions for 128 yards and a touchdown. Next, we have Trevor Terry with 6 receptions, 61 yards. Jericho Morris, 5 receptions for a team high 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then we have DeAndre Champagne wrapping it up with 4 receptions, 30 yards, and a score. If you can, give us a 4-game progress report on the guys that you're responsible for, Francisco. What are some positives that you're seeing out of them? And then what are some things you'd like to see them improve on the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, the 4 guys that you mentioned, those guys have been doing a really, really good job for us, and that's the reason that we brought them in. I've been very pleased with all the receivers, everyone that's played. In terms of the positives, I feel like everybody's doing a really good job blocking and grasping the offense. It's a whole new staff, whole new players. And the kids are, learning very, very fast. We're throwing a lot at them, but they're picking it up pretty well. So I'm pleased with that in terms of a positive. Catching the football, creating separation, getting in and out of breaks. I'm very pleased with that. And just things that we can improve on. I just feel like we can always improve on those things. I think you're never just perfect on everything. So as long as we're improving, on the things that we're already good at, I think we're going to be that much better.
Well, as we know, you don't have to be the biggest or the fastest to have success. I think you would agree with me here, but it's all about technique when we're talking about wide receivers and what needs to go into actually getting looks and catching the ball. Take us through some of the things that you've been teaching the wide receivers this season since you've been named the wide receivers coach there at Jones County, Francisco. What have you been working on with the Bobcats wide receivers?
Well, I mean, like you said, anybody who's, followed me in my playing days, I wasn't very big, I wasn't very fast, but I took pride in the little things, creating separation, understanding coverages, being able to process information on the run, being very, very effective route runner. And that's the same thing that I'm bringing as a coach. I think nowadays everyone's big, everyone's fast. I think what separates a good receiver from a great receiver is the technique part of it. Being able to create separation, getting in and out of breaks, being able to set DBs, being able to think while you're running. And those are some of the things that I'm just teaching my guys and trying to get them to understand. You got to be technique savvy. And for the most part, we're doing that and we're progressing towards that.
And with technique, it doesn't just come right away. That's something. We talked about effort earlier when it comes to blocking. There's a lot of effort that needs to put into having good technique as a wide receiver as well. It's not going to come right away. I remember back when you were playing, Francisco. You would post a ton of videos on Twitter and Instagram and social media networks of you constantly working on your craft. Whether it was during the football season or not, you were constantly working on that. So again, that's kind of when we were talking about effort, that's another place where effort comes into as well when you're looking at a technique for these football players, specifically these wide receivers. Now moving on, I remember when we last spoke in late June, Francisco, you said that you saw a lot of similarities of your game and wide receiver Trevor Terry, and then I see about a month after our conversation, Trevor Terry went on to verbally commit to Southern Miss, where you in the past spent 4 or 5 years at. Talk to us a little bit about that decision that Terry made. Did you give him any advice when it came to that decision?
I gave him some, a little advice. The good thing about it is when Trevor, he first got here, I got here. And I knew instantly that, and that's what I told you back in June, I saw myself in him because he instantly wanted to work. He wanted to go on the field. He wanted to get better. He wanted to work on his technique. He didn't have any offers coming here. But I told him, I said, look, if you just continue to work your craft, good things are going to come. And sure enough, a couple weeks after that, he went to the Southern Miss camp. They had a showcase there, and they offered him a couple days after that. And I knew that's where he wanted to go, from day one. And, I just told him, make the best decision for you. Southern Miss is a great school. I went there. I know some of the coaches there, and I'm just happy for him because I know that's what he wanted to do. It's close to home, and I just couldn't be more happy for the kid. And we're just going to continue to work.
And obviously, the arrow for that Southern Miss football program is pointing upward. I'm sure you're happy to see that as an alum. I'm sure Trevor Terry is very happy to see that as a verbally committed athlete. Now, just a couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you go, Francisco. This week, you guys do host Southwest. Have you been able to prepare for that game at all? I know we're just a few days removed from your guys' last game. What will you guys need to do in order to get back to the winning ways in Ellisville, Mississippi?
Yeah, we came in Sunday and we started breaking down Southwest immediately. But we're not going to change anything, offensively, defensively, or in the kicking game. We're going to continue to do what we've been doing. We're not going to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. We're just going to continue to do what we've been doing, learn from our mistakes, and just make sure that we don't make those mistakes again. But I think we'll be fine.
And obviously, Francisco, a lot of change has gone on there at Jones County over the past 9-12 months. There's a lot of freshmen. There's a new staff there. If I'm not mistaken, more freshmen on the team than sophomores. But this is a team that only won 2 games last year, and here you guys are already 3-1, winning the first 3 games of the season. Tell us what the atmosphere is like around JC this time of the year. Are people excited for the football team as they get ready to host Southwest later on this week?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of excitement. Like you mentioned, last year they won 2 games. We're sitting here 3-1, so obviously we're moving in the right direction. We know that, but this is not the end. We want to continue to win games and continue to improve. But I mean, you can tell the community is behind us. They're excited. The games are packed. So I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better than that. And we're just going to continue to work and continue to give these fans what they want to see, and that's us winning games.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, Francisco, congratulations on a hot start to the season. Congratulations on the start of your coaching career, of course. I obviously know it doesn't stop here. You guys are ranked number 14, and I know you guys have high expectations for the remainder of the season as well. So, again, thanks for taking some time to chat. And of course, we're going to be keeping tabs on the JC Bobcats for the remainder of this season, and we're really wishing you guys all the best moving forward.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me on again, and best of luck to you, and I'm sure we'll talk again later on.